Hello and welcome again to the Writer Review. My name is Eric Rutt Writer, and this week we're going to be taking a look back at the 2013 movie titled Dallas Buyers Club. Now, Dallas Buyers Club is a biographical drama that runs for an hour and 56 minutes long. It is directed by Jean-Marc Vallée. It is produced by Robbie Brenner and Rachel Winter. The script was written by Craig Borton and Melissa Wallach. And the cinematography was done by E. Belanger, and it was edited by John Mac McMurphy and Martin Penza. And it stars Matthew McConaughey, who went on to win an Oscar for Best Leading Actor, and Jared Leto, who won Best Supporting Actor. Rounding off the other cast of supporting players includes Jennifer Garner, Denis O'Hare, and Steve Zahn. Now, inspired by actual events, Dallas Buyers Club focuses on the dying years of a Dallas hustler. He's an electrician, and he also is a part-time rodeo entertainer named Juan Woodruff, who was born in 1950 and he died in 1992. So he goes out of his way to face up against the Food and Drug Administration, better words known as the FDA, and he pursues a crusade to help AIDS patients get the treatments they need to reduce the suffering after discovering that he himself has this unfortunate disease. What do I think of Juan Woodruff? I think Mr. Woodruff was like in the 80s version of Robin Hood. You all know the all-familiar story of Robin Hood, how he robbed the rich to give to the poor, standing up against government officials to take them down so that he could spread his philanthropy towards the less fortunate. Juan Woodruff is in some ways a martyr in that kind of sense, only this time he is smuggling medicine and antidotes to AIDS patients so that they could at least prolong the illness so that it doesn't get worse for them, or at least so that they could guarantee to live at least a little more longer than what is expected of them. So here's how the story goes. Juan Woodruff, born 1950, died 1992, played by Matthew McConaughey, is a part-time electrician and part-time rodeo entertainer who lives in Dallas, Texas. One day, from an electrician shock, I believe, he gets admitted to the hospital on account of a work incident. Mr. Woodruff's hospital admittance becomes a little more serious than he has expected. Maybe I should say a lot more serious than he's expected. The doctors discover that Woodruff has been diagnosed with HIV. But of course, you know, back in the 80s, they didn't really actually say HIV. They right away completely dismissed it as being full-blown AIDS. Though he is not an excessive needle pusher, nor is he a homosexual, he refuses to believe that he has AIDS, and believes that the only people who have it are homosexuals. And of course, you know, because back in the 80s, a lot of people had this kind of narrow-minded belief that AIDS was a gay disease, or that there were only 3 people who ever gotten the AIDS virus: homosexuals, bisexuals, and druggies. But the tests he receives confirm that he has AIDS, and according to his doctors, Dr. Savard, played by Denis O'Hare, and Dr. Eve Sachs, played by Jennifer Garner, he only has 1 month to live. So with life hanging on a string, Woodruff confiscates the experimental drug AZT as a way to stall the illness from getting worse. And when he finally runs out, and as his disease was progressively getting worse, he ventures off to Mexico in search of other antidotes with the help of a unlicensed physician by the name of Dr. Vass, played by Griffin Dunn. So what shocks him is that AZT is actually a poisonous substance, and if AIDS won't kill him, AZT will. But he finds a concoction that will definitely do the trick. A victim of his own selfish purposes to make a profit, he is joined by the assistance of a transvestite by the name of Rayon, played by Jared Leto, and his clientele starts to expand. And the larger his client base, he starts to realize just how homophobic and narrow-minded he has become. If he thought he could keep this operation any longer, well, reality starts to come into full effect. It isn't before long that the FDA will storm on and repossess his antidotes and warns him that he will be arrested on account of trafficking. Therefore, with that in mind, Woodruff establishes a subscription-only conglomerate known to which he calls the Dallas Buyers Club, where he's not actually officially selling drugs, but selling memberships at the price of $400. Woodruff embodies the AIDS community that these remedies actually works. And even though he's a gay-bashing jerk of an individual, his cause is actually helping those whom he truly despises. Meanwhile, the FDA, whose payroll comes from these major pharmaceutical companies, these corporate shrills are unintentionally killing the AIDS people. Here we have a rebel who's trying to help a good cause, even though he's not a likable person. The FDA, who are supposed to help these AIDS victims, are actually killing them by not letting them to prescribe these medications. And there are also other organizations who are also in the process of, standing up to the FDA. I believe there was a group in the 80s that was called ACT UP. It's an acronym of something. I don't know what it is. If you wish to, if anybody wishes to tell me what the acronym of ACT UP was, please let me know. So Rod decides that his destiny is to try to confront the FDA and ensure that he's doing it for the sake of a cause. What can I say about the performances? Well, it's really a performance-driven drama that really matters the most here. Matthew McConaughey has really outdid himself here by sacrificing his own physicality to lose a substantial amount of weight and to turn away from his usual boy-toy persona, making him almost unrecognizable. On a mental note, famous for his lovable romantic characters, he actually has also turned his mental demeanor to play a rather crude, narrow-minded, homophobic despot. But still, in spite of his flaws, we still love the man for what he's doing, and we love McConaughey because he makes this character believable and truly deserves the accolades that was given to him. The other standout performance was Jared Leto, who looks almost unrecognizable under all the makeup and dresses to play Woodward's assistant, Rayon. Leto avoids the silly humor like, "Hoo-hoo, I'm a guy dressed up in a girl's suit. I'm gonna go goofy and happy and..." No. He wasn't wearing the women's clothes and the cross-dressing apparel like he's going to a costume party. I mean, he avoids the silly humor about and plays a very sympathetic and endearing character. He's backed up by other great supporting stars like Jennifer Garner, who has a more complex initiative as the morally inclined Dr. Eve Sachs, who's kind of like caught up in the balance between her career and doing what's right. Eventually she takes the side of this rather crude, unlikable guy like Woodruff for the sake of a good cause. The supporting players were equally poignant, with Denis O'Hare as the bureaucratic, friendly physician, Dr. Severd, and Steve Zahn as Woodruff's cop buddy, Tucker. The other technical features were also quite impressive. The wonderful script by Craig Borton and Melissa Wallach is definitely saturated in character development. And even though the characters have their shares of strengths and flaws, it scores high points in effectiveness and believability. The ingredient that makes this film effective comes in terms of the relationships within the characters, and that we're able to understand a complex character who's quite unlikable but still manages to hold a place in our hearts. Borton and Wallach succeed in avoiding overly done sentimentality and succeeds in keeping it standard, which of course might not seem interesting to some others because the slow pace and the scenes will not necessarily charge at you, but they will draw your heartstrings together. Director Jean-Marc Vallée gives this cinematic project sort of a documentary feeling to it. Like I said, it's never flashy, and the story is executed as all the events are transpiring before our very eyes. We see no sympathy within the characters, as no one is completely sugar-coated, and that harder truths truly come uncompromising. It's not pretty. It's not a pretty movie at all, but it's straight to the point, and it leaves no stone unturned. It shows no favoritism whatsoever. It's not always pleasant, I guarantee it. And if you can't stomach this kind of movie because of the strong content and the strong language, then maybe this movie may not necessarily be for you. It is rated R, so I just want you to keep that in mind. But life was never meant to be fair. And even though the production value lacks at times in connection, the style of storytelling makes this movie very significant. When coming to see this movie, brace yourself for 2 hours of engaging characters who don't always necessarily lack moral vibes while defending themselves against corporate shrills for the sake of a good cause. The movie depends on a motivating script, intense performances, and the realism involved. It might change your life, it might not, but it will make you ponder of who our government really cares for. Do they care for themselves, or do they really truly care for others? That's something that really needs to keep in mind. If I was to give this movie a score out of 10, I would definitely give it an 8.5. I mean, it's a really good movie. McConaughey and Leto really sacrificed their well-beings to play very hard, complex characters, and they were both used for good effect. And I think that is like what the real strong point is in this movie, so I would really suggest you check it out. But I guess that's the end of my writer review. Thank you all for listening in. If you like to write in, please feel free. You could subscribe to my channel if you like. Remember, be kind, be courteous, and I will be back with another review. So until next time, this is Eric Cartwriter saying, keep watching those movies, and I'll see you around. Goodbye.